Hey guys, it's Ajay here, aka Waltzing Wizard, and today I'm going to be doing another tutorial. So this tutorial is going to be a little bit different from my last ones. My last couple tutorials were on Tetris basics, so it was first of all an introduction to just how multiplayer Tetris works, and then it was some speed, and then it was how to spin and manipulate your pieces the way that you want them to. This one is going to be the first one that's on a setup instead of general concept. So I'm going to do a couple on setups. Today's setup is going to be combo setups. So let's hop right into that. What's the hotkey? All right, we got it. So combo setups are going to be the first one we're going to do. Later on, I'm going to be doing TKI, Albatross, Perfect Clears, some other cool openings. And but yeah, let's hop into the combo one. So first of all, why should you start with a combo opening? So the pros are that it's easy to learn, which is why I'm doing this one as the first setup opening that I'm teaching. Another one is that it's really good for learning stacking fundamentals. So if you're just starting out and you're just sort of getting the hang of finesse and how to stack flat and make sure you don't misdrop and stuff like that, it's going to use a lot of those skills, and you'll be able to build good stacking skills that'll help you for all the other setups and just for general stacking and down stacking in Tetris. There's a good skill carryover from Sprint, and I definitely recommend that anyone who starts off learning Tetris should definitely be playing a lot of Sprint, because that's how you get faster. And the speed is going to be the limiting factor when you first start playing. And so if you already have a lot of experience with Sprint, then combos are going to be very natural for you to learn. Also, it can be a really powerful strategy in both Facebook Tetris Battle and Tetris Friends. These are definitely the two most popular places where people play multiplayer Tetris, and so the fact that this strategy is useful there means that it's a very popular strategy for a lot of people. So you're definitely going to see the dividends really quickly if you start using combos. The cons of combos are that it can sort of be a glass cannon strategy, especially without hidden lines. I'm going to be talking about hidden lines a little bit later, but glass cannon basically means like you can send a whole lot of lines with combos, but at the same time it's very easy to die. And in Facebook Tetris Battle, maybe it's okay to get KO'd a couple times because you know you can send it right back. But in every single other form of Tetris, in multiplayer, once you are KO'd, then you're out for the round. There's no multiple KOs, and so it can be scary to build up all the way to the top like that. It's also not very adaptable mid-game. A combo is only really good if you get the entire combo out of it. If you do like a mini combo, they can deal with it pretty quickly, and other strategies are going to annihilate small combos. So once you start building one, you pretty much have to build to the top, otherwise you're not going to get very much out of it. Also, a lot of people, myself included, can find combos a little bit boring to play and play against because it's a very one-dimensional strategy, just because it's not very adaptable, as I mentioned earlier. And so you might kind of get bored with that, playing it if you do it too much, but honestly, I used combos for my first year or two of playing, and it was fine. And lastly, it has the stigma of being kind of lame. You'll see a lot of people. The Tetris community doesn't really rage very much, mostly because there's a language barrier between a lot of the players, and so raging doesn't really do anything. But I think the couple times that I have seen people rage in Tetris, it's been because of combos. Because sometimes you can feel very helpless, especially if someone's doing a center four wide, which we'll talk about later on. It can be a pretty overwhelming strategy, and it triggers a lot of people. But there are a lot of people who don't really care about that, so more power to you. So the first kind of combo that I'm going to be talking about is a 2-wide. This is because there is a 2-wide gap. It can be either on the right side or the left side. And this is probably the first strategy you should use if you're just getting into multiplayer Tetris. It's very easy to stack, especially if you're used to Sprint already, where you should be going for Tetrises. It's very easy to just leave an extra gap and go for a 2-wide combo instead. The other benefit would be that it has a high initial burst because you're mostly clearing doubles in the beginning instead of singles, and so while the other combos all clear singles, and so it takes a while to ramp up, the 2-wide will send more lines in the beginning and it'll be a little bit more forward weighted. The other pro, I'm not really sure why this is fourth, because this one is a con, but that's okay. Um, so the other pro is that you can transition into Tetrises if you need to. So as you can see, because it's a 2-wide combo, if you get 2 eye pieces in a row, it can be very easy to clear a Tetris. This can be used to counter any incoming garbage sent, or if you want to send a quick spike because you see the other person's near the top because maybe they're doing a 4-wide or something, then it can be easy to send a quick spike like that instead of executing the whole slow combo. The major downside would be that this is by far the weakest form of combo that you can do. If you're clearing a lot of doubles, obviously that means that most of your stack won't be used for the combo, which means that at the end of the day, you're just not going to send that many lines because the length of the combo is low. Even though you're sending doubles, the major destructive power of a combo comes from the length of it. If you send a really long combo, it doesn't really matter if it's all singles. It'll send an enormous amount of lines. And so the fact that this has a really low combo length is going to detract a lot from the strength of a combo. Next, there's 3-wides. It's almost identical to the 2-wide. It's just a little bit harder to stack because your stack is going to be thinner, obviously, and it's also a little bit harder to execute the actual combo because you need to be a little bit more creative. Not every piece will work. Sorry about that. It also has a couple of double opportunities in it instead of all singles, unlike the 4-wide, and so there will be a slightly higher initial burst than the 4-wide. But overall, it doesn't really have a high burst. But the combo length will definitely be a lot longer than the 2-wide because there will be a lot more singles that you're clearing instead of doubles. Also, an advantage to both the 2-wide and the 3-wide is that you can do something called skimming, which makes it a lot easier to execute the combo. I'll talk more about how to skim later. Finally, the infamous 4-wide. So 4-wides are by far the most efficient way to send lines in guideline games. Some people would argue that maybe continuous T-spin triples might be if the game is shorter, but if the game goes long enough in order to get multiple 4-wide combos in, it's definitely the most efficient way to send lines in the game. Also, that depends a little bit on the combo table, but most combo tables are brutal enough to make 4-wide combos pretty much unstoppable. I guess a con would be it's a little bit difficult to stack, but this is pretty wide. As long as you're doing your 4-wide on the side, I don't think there should be too much of a problem. The biggest con is that it's the hardest combo to execute. You have to be very good with manipulating your pieces because you'll frequently need to use spins in order to continue the combo going. Also, when you set it up, you have to leave a little bit of a 3-wide, a 3 Mino overhang in order to execute the combo. And you need to be able to look ahead so that you can use all the possible ways to, so that you can choose the optimal way to make sure your combo continues to the end. 4-wides are definitely going to use the most practice, but if you master a 4-wide, you're going to KO a lot of people and you're going to get really good really fast, and it's definitely a really scary strategy to deal with. You've probably seen me losing to 4-wides on my self-commentated games all the time. So center combos, particularly the center 4-wide, are just when you stack on either side. So this would be a 3-3 stack because there's 3-wide stack on this side, a 3-wide stack on this side, and a 4-wide gap in the middle. This is mainly used for a center 4-wide. The advantage to this is that if you remember back to the intro to multiplayer Tetris video, the way that you are KO'd is if the piece can't spawn in the matrix. If you leave a 4-wide gap here, no matter what piece spawns, it will be able to spawn in the matrix. And so even if they send like 16 lines here, you will not get KO'd if your screen is like this. A major downside to the previous kinds of combos is that if they send lines at an inopportune time for you, you'll immediately die just because of how close you are to the top. But this isn't an issue with the center 4-wide. In fact, on Tetris Friends, there are a lot of hidden rows at the top. In fact, there are on Tetris Arena, I know that there are 20 hidden rows, which means that even if they send almost an entire screen's worth of lines to you, you still won't get KO'd, and not only will you not get KO'd, but you'll have the opportunity to still execute your entire combo because these pieces, even though you won't be able to see them, will still exist and slowly fall as you execute the combo. This makes a center 4 wide possibly the best strategy you can go for in Tetris Friends. But in other games like Tetris, the hidden rows don't exist, and once the pieces go above, they disappear forever. So that decreases the strength of a center 4 wide. A lot of times you'll also see center combos when people are trying to extend how powerful their T-spin attack is. So they'll set up a T-spin at the bottom, and then they'll stack around it, and then after they do the T-spin, the gap left over will be 3 wide, and they'll execute a combo afterwards to follow up. This can be good if you see the opponent misdrop as you're setting up a T-spin. You can set up the 3 wide over it, and then go for a really big attack to take advantage of their misdrop. Alright, so next I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive into the 4 wide, because this is by far the hardest combo to execute, and it's probably the most popular one, and is probably the reason why you're watching this video. So I want to talk about that a lot more. First of all, when you set up a 4 wide originally, one thing that maybe beginners don't realize is that it's really important to have the overhang. So this shows that if you leave the gap on the right, the possible overhangs that you can leave. So you can put an S piece here, or a T piece, I piece, or a J piece. The reason why these work is because they leave exactly 3 blocks on the side. Whenever you clear a line, this 4 wide gap, 4 of the blocks are going to go because it's a single, right? And because you're putting a block on this side in the gap, 4 minos are added, which means if you leave these 3 blocks here, assuming that no garbage gets sent to you, you will always have a 3 mino left over in order to continue the combo, which will allow the combo to repeat indefinitely if you do it right. If you don't have that there, it's going to be a lot harder to clear a line. You'll see some people are able to do it sometimes even if they don't have a gap there, because there are certain maps that start them that way. This requires you to be very lucky with the pieces that you get, and will not always happen. And so if you can, you want to make sure that you have this 3 leftover minos there. Obviously, if you set it up with the gap on the left side, it'll be the same, except instead of this S piece, you'll have a Z piece on that side, and instead of the J piece here, you'll have an L piece on the other side. This chart here is one of many charts that people have created. I personally like this one, but if you just Google 4 wide, you'll find many such charts, which show given a starting position of your gap. So for example, see this starting position. Let's see, where is it? It is represented here. So this is how the gap looks. You see these 3 pieces correspond to these 3 pieces here. And then you can find similar ones for any of these gaps. For example, this I piece one is the first one right here. That's an easy one to find. Or this J piece one is this last one at the bottom here. So you can start from any of the possible starting positions here, and it shows you which blocks you can use to execute the combo. Some of them are going to require spins. For example, this one here, you're going to need if you want to use an S piece for this one, you need to do an S spin. It shows you that you can do it right here. So then it would come down and spin in. So some of them take a little bit more figuring out, but it'll show you every single piece and every single configuration that you can use to continue the combo. As well as the next continuation you can do. If you look really closely, I know it's kind of small, but there's a color there are colored dots next to each of these values, and those show that if you use the piece in the column as it's shown, then those colors are the next pieces that you'll be able to do it to continue the combo with. So for example, it would be good to choose one like this that has a lot of different colored dots next to it, because that way, like this 50 here, has a lot of different colored dots next to it. That means that there are a lot of ways that you can continue the combo if you choose to continue the combo this way. Whereas if you use the Z piece in a different way, only an S piece can be used afterwards, because there's only a green dot next to it. So if you know that you have a green dot coming, maybe you can use the Z piece in this vertical parity. But most of the time you're going to want to use it in the horizontal position, right? And so you can sort of comb through this chart and get a feel for what the best ways to use each of the pieces are. But it's just going to take a lot of practice and a lot of looking ahead and getting used to that. I also put a sample combo table here. So this is Tetris Friends in Expert Plus mode, how many lines each of the combos send. This is the total amount of lines. Sometimes combo tables will just do the incremental lines. Doesn't really make too much of a difference, but as you can see, the Tetris Friends one has a +5. Some of them don't have a +5, and it gets to +4 pretty quickly. Some combo tables don't get to +4 until 12, but this will vary from game to game, even within the guideline games. And so, if you're thinking of comboing, you should know what the strength of your combo is in each of the games, so that you understand what your attacking potential is at any given time. Alright, so skimming is a strategy that you can use for 2 and 3 wide combos to make them a lot easier. You can see all the skimming strategies here. Basically, the idea is that when you stack, you're going to narrow it towards the top, and as you narrow it, you can use the bigger gap at the top in order to use pieces that you might not otherwise be able to use. For example, in this configuration, if you get an I piece, you don't want to clear a Tetris because you want your combo to be going as long as possible, and if you were already in the middle of a combo leading up to this point, it would be pretty inefficient to try to clear 4 lines at the same time here, because you want the combo to be going as long as possible. So it's much better to skim it over the top and use this 4 wide gap at the top, right? Also, there are some cases where you can't even use the piece that's coming in, and so maybe your held piece can be used to skim, and so you can use that instead. Another advantage of this is that sometimes you get a lot of lines and you're not ready to start your combo yet because you don't have the right piece, but maybe that piece can be used to skim so that you start to block the garbage and can start the combo with the next piece so that you won't get KO'd immediately. Alright, so that's the end of the comboing tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to start working on some other opening tutorials now. I might do perfect clears next just because that's a fun one, and I think a lot of people want to know how to do perfect clears in the beginning. If you want to know more about comboing, I highly recommend just watching players use it. I mentioned 3 players here, Squirtle, Z2Sam, and Zero T. They all have YouTube videos, and they're all extremely high-level players who use the 4-wide combo in order to destroy their opponents. They make it pretty far in most tournaments and are very strong players. I definitely recommend watching them. I'm going to put each of their channels in the description so you guys can check it out if you want. And yeah, just watch how they use their pieces and look ahead in order to keep their 4-wide stack as close to a starting position as possible. Starting positions being one of the original setups that you would use rather than one of the weird ones. They're very good at that, and they almost never have to cut their combos short. So it's very nice to see them do that, and it's also nice to see how they transition out of the 4-wide into whatever else they plan on doing, whether it's T-spins or sometimes they manage to keep the combo going through the down stacking when they get garbage before they do the combo. So it's nice to see how they're able to do that also. So that's all I have for you guys. I'll see you guys in the next tutorial or video, whichever you want to watch. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.